Newsfirst, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat.
And a very good evening to you and a warm welcome to Newsline Live. Today it's a recording done a few hours ago. Now then, my next guest is a Canadian communications executive and is actually the first ever female head of Rotary International. And we're delighted to welcome to Newsline and to Sri Lanka Jennifer Jones. Very good evening to you, Jennifer Jones, and thank you for coming on Newsline.
Well, it is an absolute delight. I'm looking forward to having a conversation.
Thank you. So what took so long, 117 years later?
Well, that's a very good question. We started in 1905, and it actually, we didn't permit women to join our organization until a Supreme Court ruling in the United States, if you can believe it, in 1987.
87?
87. And so we've been just over 30 years now that women have been joining our organization. We are about 26% of the population of our membership, and we have gone through varying levels of our organization's leadership, and it was finally a time where, like our male colleagues, women have risen to the top ranks in our organization. And so I'm extraordinarily proud and very honored to be serving in this, role.
I am, in that case, I'm doubly honored because it's not often that we have such a groundbreaking personality on the program.
Well, you're very kind.
But on behalf of our female viewership, who I'm sure will be delighted to hear of your appointment, and I'm sure they're all cheering.
Well, you know, one of the things that's probably notable to mention, it was a nominating committee of 17 different members from around the world that made this selection, and it was 6 different opponents that were being interviewed. And they took an opportunity at the end to go around and each make a personal comment. And the overarching comment that they made was that they selected me because of my credential and not because of my gender. And I believe that's an important distinction, that we're at a point in time now where qualified women have risen through the ranks of our organization, and we're not just checking a box to say that we've done it. It's truly because someone has worked hard.
And is deserving, because it's merit-based.
It is, and I think that for women who are looking perhaps to say, oh, well, women and men, well, if she can do it, I can too. I hope it inspires others to look at this and say, it can look a little different than it has before. I
wanted to say to you, in your, as you sort of ascended, or as you were selected, you undertook, or your stated aim is to have at least 40% of the membership to be from the as females. Is that right? Is that a tough task, though?
Well, actually, it was 30%.
Okay.
I'd love 40%.
Okay.
And actually, our younger members under the age of 30 have already reached gender parity, 50-50.
Okay.
And so I want the right people to be joining our organization. So men and women, we're looking for people of excellence and people of purpose, people of influence, people of action. And so we just have a bigger pool. With 50% of the global population being women, we just have a bigger pool to fish in. And so I think that the opportunity for us to look for intelligent, qualified women who are leaders in their business life, in their community life, to join and find their opportunity for personal growth and leadership development, and to be able to do service around the world and in their communities.
Jennifer, there are some suggestions, so I'm asking you the question. Is it that Rotary International is a sort of select club, if you like, of corporates who help each other, or is there a bigger story?
Well, you know, I think that that's one of the reasons why I'm glad to be in this role now, to help break down some of the stereotypes. And some of it is that we're very male-oriented, male-dominated, elitist. We want, as I said, people of excellence, and we are an invitation organization. So we want people who represent the best of our communities, but we want people who represent diverse perspective. So all ages, genders, cultures. We want we want people that represent what our communities look like. And so that also means that we come from different vocations, and not every one of them is going to be the CEO of the organization. It may be someone else who is a person of influence. Have you met a 25-year-old who is a person of incredible influence that hasn't yet reached the pinnacle of their career? Of course we have. They're the ones who are going to help us think as a bright future, perhaps a little bit differently. Younger people have been digital natives their entire life, and so right now I think we're at an opportune time for more cross-mentorship between more mature members and younger members to move our organization forward in a bright way.
Excellent. How many membership clubs do you have across the globe?
Sure. Well, we're a big movement. We have clubs, and I like to say that we're more than a club. I think we're a movement. So we have 46,000 clubs in more than 200 countries and geographical areas. And so if you name a country, I can pretty much tell you a club, and I can probably tell you a person. And that's the strength of our organization, is that because we transcend borders and boundaries, if something happens in a part of the world, we know someone there and we're connected. And so let's use the example of the war in Ukraine. We have 1,100 members there right now, and our members globally have been working to support through different grants, food scarcity issues, providing for housing for women and children. Let's use an example closer to home. Right here in the economic crisis that you're dealing with in this country, we have been working in partnership with the Ministry of Health and with UNICEF to locate and procure vital medicines that need to reach people right now for a myriad of different illnesses and ailments. We make sure that we look towards our neighbors, and when I say that, I mean that from a global perspective. And when disaster strikes, man-made or natural, we're there to help provide stability and security for people to make sure that their lives can move on and be good.
And talking about the Sri Lanka perspective, as you know, Sri Lanka is undergoing a most horrendous situation economically. And but before I ask you that, we also noticed that you've done some amazing work in helping with COVID-19. I think your organization raised approximately 29.7 million American dollars for that. What was Rotary International's input into for Sri Lanka?
Well, one of the things that's really fascinating is that if you take a step back prior to COVID and the pandemic, is that we actually, for more than 30 plus years, have been at the forefront of eradicating polio. That's our #1 corporate priority.
Yeah.
And you might ask, why would I bring up polio when we're talking about COVID? Well, the fact is we've created a public health infrastructure in many countries, more than 70 countries around the world. And we have frontline health workers who have been trained to do surveillance, contact tracing, all of the things that were necessary and required to deal with COVID. So we were uniquely poised and positioned when the pandemic hit to be able to get things to the front lines, PPE, ventilators, food scarcity issues, everything that needed to be dealt with in real time. Our members, even though every single one of us, every man, woman, and child in the world had to be locked down, our members, as people of action, took action. And so we were able to set up clinics, we were able to set up testing centers, and really quite candidly, we were able to do things that even government was not able to do. And so we work with a number of different disaster response organizations like Shelterbox. They provide tented shelter for people in disaster situations. One of the things their CEO told me, they couldn't have done their work through the pandemic if it weren't for our members, because no one could travel. But they had their supplies in countries when a cyclone would hit, an earthquake would hit. And we had members on the ground that could go there, get those things, and help people in real time. So our family of Rotary members have extraordinary capacity, and I'm immensely proud of what they do to support people in their own countries, and quite candidly, we look at our neighbors abroad to see where the need is great as well.
And so it's almost like what you're really saying is that the DNA of Rotary International is sort of inherent to get up and go the minute there is a problem somewhere?
Well, one of the things that I think is a superpower strength of ours is that we bring leaders in and we create better leaders. And so when someone comes in, the ability to have personal growth, leadership development, these are things that really are a hallmark of what someone gets out of their involvement by being part of one of our clubs. And then you take that back into your vocational life, and it enhances and improves that. It gives us the opportunity then to look to how do we use those skills when we have a diverse population around the table. Someone may be a banker, someone may be a broadcaster, someone may be a doctor, someone may be an educator. If we're going to solve a problem, we can't look at it through the vocational lens of one group. We all bring a unique skill set to how we're able to solve the world's most pressing challenges.
What is the criteria to be invited to for membership?
We're looking for people of high integrity, people who stand out as excellence, with excellence in their vocational life, their community life, community leaders that are doing things to raise up people in their own community, and like I said, oftentimes abroad as well. When
you talk of integrity and so on, and Sri Lanka has its own set of troubles economically. The United Nations have also recognized that there is an aspect of economic crimes and corruption that has helped Sri Lanka to be propelled into this virtual abyss of despair in terms of our economy. And what do you do when you look at a country like Sri Lanka, which is having it's well documented, it's well known that Sri Lanka has a problem with corruption. It's sort of endemic, some say. But what do you do when you're faced in a country like that? Do you shudder and walk away, or do you fight it head on?
Well, one of the things that is remarkable, because we have Rotary members in countries as I said, basically in every country around the world, with a few minor exceptions. If you look at an example here, your home country, this beautiful island nation, this is my second time here. I'm here, I walked out of the doors of the airport into the arms of friends, people I've known for a number of years, people who I trust. And that's a big part of being part of our organization, is understanding the trust that we have with each other. I can go somewhere, not have met you, but because we're part of this, I know you to be a person of integrity, and I'm going to trust you for your word. Now, are there exceptions? Of course there are exceptions, but it's not the rule. And so when you're looking to solve problems in country, for example, you have one of the most brilliant leaders of our organization's history, one of our past Rotary International presidents, Ravi Ravindran. He is a man of incredible integrity, and when something needs to be done in this country, he's at the forefront of advocating for what needs to be done and making sure that it's done in an ethical way. We hold ourselves to very high standards, and we are ranked by external organizations like Charity Navigator on a regular basis to ensure that we comply with the standards that the world holds up, to make sure that we are doing things in the most ethical way that we can.
Thank you. And on that note, let's go for a quick break and see what's in store for us ahead this evening. We'll see you on the other side of this break. I'm, of course, in conversation with the president of Rotary International, Jennifer Jones. The first time ever that Rotary International, in its 117-year history, has selected a female to head its organization. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
News First, Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
Social media activist Dilan Senanayake stabbed in his own office. No arrests yet. TID questions a Mainagogama activist as to whether Vasanta Mudalige led the unrest that captured Temple Tree. Sri Lanka's recession is likely to deepen amid high inflation rates, Bloomberg reports. Government aiming to raise up $3 billion via restructuring of state assets, says Minister Ali Sabri. President's advice to state sector employees. Police investigate drug abuse at schools, Survey into drug abuse carried out by a university. France advanced into FIFA World Cup finals, dashing hopes for Morocco.
Newsfirst Newsline with Faraz Shaukat Ali.
And welcome back to Newsline Live. It's a recording done a bit earlier. Our guest tonight is Jennifer Jones, Rotary International President. First time in 117 years that they've had a female selected as its president. We're delighted to welcome you back to Newsfirst Newsline program.
Thank you.
Jennifer, thank you. How did you view Sri Lanka when it was in the throes of its corona crisis?
Well, you know, I think if you take a step back and think of it from the perspective, as I said earlier, every man, woman, and child on the planet had to go through this. No one had a get out of jail card free or a free pass away from corona. No one.
It was a great equalizer.
You know what? I actually think that we need to take the best from the worst. And certainly we went through a horrific time, a lot of lives lost. But I do believe it was a great equalizer. And, you know, seeing world leaders broadcasting from their kitchens, from their living rooms, from their basements, all of us trying our very best to be able to hop onto virtual platforms and support each other, to reach out to say, are you okay? I think that this was something that I think it's something that we can't lose. I think we need to, I don't know. I think it's allowed us to see leadership in a different kind of way, and I think basically what it set us up for is an empathetic kind of leadership, a bold, courageous type of leadership that needs to be out in the forefront now, making sure that we're looking out for people, taking care of people, and making the tough decisions. And I think that's a little bit different than it's been in the past.
Indeed. This group lost our chairman, Mr. Rajendran Rajamahendran, during this sad period.
I'm sorry.
Yes, it's always difficult, but yes, it's a great equalizer and so on. But Jennifer, you know, I'm going back to this. Sri Lanka is in the throes of a severe problem.
Yes.
Currently, the rates are about 20% of households are moving away from milk, principally because they can't afford it. And they can't afford it because the price has gone up so many times. The experts estimate that current 20% will actually go up to about 30%, which is a lot of household.
Yes.
What can Rotary do for Sri Lanka in terms of, you know, because it has all sorts of effects like undernutrition, malnutrition, and so on. What can Rotary International do to help Sri Lanka?
Well, first and foremost, a lot is already happening, and I mentioned our past Rotary International President, Ravi Ravindran, has been leading a large initiative in partnership with UNICEF to bring in medicine that is much needed, and that is something that is a little bit unprecedented in terms of the scope and scale of what that looks like. We have an opportunity through our grant system that we have. We raise hundreds of millions of dollars every year to be able to utilize and harness grants where they're needed for different things. And we have what we call 7 areas of focus that we align all of our efforts behind. They align directly with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And so things like providing for disease prevention and treatment, for clean water and sanitation, for maternal and child health, things that right now are at crisis level. And so as we look in, and as I reflect, quite honestly, on being at home watching this crisis unfold, all of us around the world were watching our televisions, and knowing that I have good friends here, I was watching with great concern. We are here in country, I am here in country, because I want to use my voice to help say we're here, we're ready to step in to provide aid as we're able to through different grants, to provide comfort to many of my friends. And as a matter of fact, 2 days ago, I was able to shoot a video for the Tourism Bureau asking people to come back, to encourage others to come to the country, to help generate economic revenue through tourism, which is critically and vitally important to the restoration of the economy here.
Because, of course, and as I have discovered myself in extensive traveling around the country in the past few weeks, that Sri Lanka is in fact ready, willing and able to handle its friends, it's the tourists visiting our country.
Well, certainly we're having a wonderful experience here, learning a lot, finding out a lot, and being able to go out into the rest of the world and help to tell the story.
And I know this is your second time in Sri Lanka, but is there a redeeming, or is there one special feature that you look back and said, you know what, I am in Sri Lanka? What is that?
Well, you know, it's one of the things I talked about when I was shooting this tourism video. There's something about the kindness of the people. And I mentioned this, that we were driving down one of the highways, getting close to an area that we were going to stop at. And my friend, you know, I noticed a number of people waving as we were driving by. And I said to her, I said, do you know everyone here? And she said, no, this is what we do. We just wave. We're friendly. And that is true and authentic. And, you know, even on the way here, we were sitting in stalled traffic, and there was a gentleman sitting in the car next to me just by himself. And I looked over and I smiled, and he smiled back, and there was a genuine connection. It was lovely. I'll never see him again, but you know, that's who we need to be on this planet together, good to each other. Just a simple smile can sometimes change someone's attitude of the entire day.
I suppose that gentleman who was in the car next to you in traffic might just well be your captain when you leave the country tonight. Who knows?
You never know.
You never know.
You never know.
46,000 clubs globally.
Yes.
1.4 million membership. What's the size in Sri Lanka?
Of the population?
No,
the amount of members. That is a very good question. I believe it's 8,000.
Okay.
Don't hold me to that, but it's in that range.
Okay, all right. And are you happy at the output that your Sri Lanka end of the business of the membership of Rotary?
Yes.
Are you happy that they're doing a good job, or do they need to pull their socks up a bit?
No, our current governor, Pupadu, she is a firehouse, a fireball of energy.
Okay.
And as we've been going around and meeting with different members, I'm seeing membership increase. I'm seeing the ability for them to support projects around the world increasing, and doing a Herculean lift in country as well. And so the leadership, I admire immensely the leadership of this country.
Have you had discussions with your local team as to how the economic challenges are impacting on their ability to drive forward the membership, to grow the membership?
Well, you know, it's fascinating because it's like you would assume with Corona. One of the things that was of great concern to us across the globe when the pandemic hit was what was going to happen to our membership. We just assumed that we were going to take a large hit. We grew. And likewise, you know, certainly with the economic instability and the crisis here, we're actually seeing membership in country grow. I think as I'm able to reflect back on it, I think what that says is that at a time when people feel instability, when they're feeling uncertainty, that they need something good to hold on to. And we are an organization, a safe harbor, if you will, for people who want to do good in the world. And when you have that as a resource, it's fascinating to see that people want to be part of that and that we're growing. So I'm incredibly encouraged by what's going on.
Excellent. So there won't be any of this. You need to pull your socks up, mate.
There is no need for that conversation here.
Excellent. What's next in Sri Lanka? I'm totally Sri Lanka focused,
yes.
and Sri Lanka centric, because we do have a serious problem in the country.
Well, a number of different things. Earlier this morning we were there for the opening of the Colombo Stock Exchange.
You rang the bell?
I rang the bell.
Okay.
First time I've had a chance to ring a stock exchange bell, so that was a great honor. But during that time, we talked about one of the large projects, long-term projects that we have for environmental sustainability in country, and the planting of 1 million trees. And so that's something that is a multi-year project to protect the trees that are here, the forestation here in country, which is on a dramatic decrease. And so that might sound like, why is that important? It is important. It's critically important to ensure environmental sustainability for a number of different reasons. And so that was one of the things that we talked about this morning. We went on to meet with the Minister of Health to talk about the pharmaceuticals that were getting into the hands of people, with deliveries even going out today. This is of critical importance. So there's a number of different things that we are focusing on to make sure that people have better opportunity and can live better lives.
Jennifer Jones, thank you very much for being on Newsline. We much appreciate your presence, and very importantly and critically, our group, our viewership, we all acknowledge and are most deeply grateful for the help that your organization is doing right here in our country.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me on, and thank you for the kindness that you've shared and the excellent interview. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that's the way it was on Newsline Live this evening. Our guest, of course, was Jennifer Jones, President Rotary International, the first female head of Rotary International in its 117-year history. Thank you very much for being a dedicated viewer. And as always, I leave you with, God bless you all.